I've been called too aggressive, too angry, too bitchy on my ballots.
I was criticized for showing more skin, whether that's my shoulders or my skirt being too short.
Boy on the other team asks my partner a question, and this isn't a yes or no question. It's not something she can just give a one-word response to. She actually has to give a fully warranted and explained response. And so she's giving this fully warranted and explained response, and the judge interrupts her while she's talking and goes, "Oh, is there a question coming with this? Get to your question," even though this was a response she was making. What really made me think that it might have been a gender thing was my partner asked the boy a question, and it probably wasn't a yes or no question either, but it was a much simpler question, I remember. And this boy just takes it and runs. He starts monologuing. He's been talking for probably 30 seconds. But as she goes to cut this guy off, the judge interrupts her again and goes, "Oh, no, 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 let him finish." That's a little weird. When she was giving a response that was fully explained, you didn't let her finish.
Before we dive into why these types of comments are so pervasive within the speech and debate community, it's important to understand that most, if not all, of these comments were made by good people.
Parents, coaches, and former competitors who generously donate their Saturdays for the benefits of students whose lives are transformed by their participation in speech and debate.
We are so grateful for our judges, and because we want this program to be inclusive of all people,
we must acknowledge that we can and should move beyond implicit bias.
Implicit bias is defined as an unconscious preference for or prejudice against a person or group of people based on associations.
The most important part of this definition, what universalizes implicit bias, is the end.
Based on associations.
Harvard Business School professor Gerald Zaltman said that 95% of our decision-making takes place on the subconscious level.
Our brains work so fast because our subconscious makes quick decisions by finding patterns and making associations between actions, people, places, and ideas.
It's what associates ketchup and mustard or salt and pepper.
Implicit bias is when these associations go against our expressed conscious beliefs, but influence our decisions.
Let's do a quick thought exercise.
A father and a son were involved in a car accident in which the father was killed and the son was seriously injured. The father was pronounced dead at the scene of the accident, and his body was taken to a local morgue.
The son was taken by ambulance to the nearby hospital and was immediately wheeled into an emergency operating room. A surgeon was called. Upon arrival and seeing the patient, the attending surgeon exclaimed,
"I can't operate on this child. He's my son."
Can you explain this?
The surgeon is the boy's mother. But more than 40% of people faced with this question invent elaborate stories, such as the boy was adopted and the surgeon was his biological father, or the father in the car was his stepfather.
The association between men and surgeons created by the media and culture we consume is so strong it interferes with our ability to make accurate judgments.
You may have a female friend, daughter, sister, or wife who is a surgeon, and still have answered that question assuming the surgeon was a man.
Everyone has implicit bias, and our subconscious thinking surrounds every competitor in speech and debate when they enter a round.
There is an innumerable number of factors in one's identity that can impact the way we are judged, but let's take a deeper look into how implicit bias impacts gender in debate.
Our implicit bias means that a male and female debater can say something or do something identically and be judged very differently.
For the past 3 years, a group of student researchers and I have been looking into perceptions of female speakers and debaters and the impacts that we see on their success rates. From week to week, the average performance of female-identified debaters in public forum debate, for example, is about 42%. But as you move through tournaments from preliminary rounds to elimination rounds and on, the percentage of female-identified debaters drops significantly from 42% to about 32% to 20% in the late elimination rounds, to the point where the percentage of female-identified debaters actually making it to semifinal and final rounds is down around 10%. So that's a significant impact that shows that there is something in play about how female-identified debaters are perceived by judges who are evaluating their debating.
Female competitors are 2 times as likely to be criticized for how they debate rather than the substance of their arguments.
Female competitors are criticized on ballots for being emotional at a rate 10 times higher than male competitors.
Female competitors are criticized on ballots for being aggressive 2 times as often as male debaters.
Against another competitor who was a male, we were just kind of being aggressive, just, having fun with debate. And I was criticized for it, and the other competitor who was a male did place first.
I've even been told that my walk is too aggressive.
When male-identified debaters are criticized for being aggressive, for example, they still have about a 50% chance of winning the debate. But female-identified debaters who are criticized for being too aggressive almost always lose the debate when it's against male competitors.
I think it's important for judges to think about implicit bias when writing their ballots because speech and debate is very competitive, and it's important that everyone has equal opportunity.
It looks like nationwide the number of female-identified students participating in public forum debate is decreasing. So far this year, we've seen about a 5 to 10% decrease in the number of female-identified debaters in public forum nationwide. And that's really troubling because that says that females are either choosing to or being forced out of public forum debate.
Because when you receive hurtful feedback, it really downplays the enjoyability of the event that you do.
Anyone who knows me knows that I am not afraid to make my opinion known. And so when I get all these comments and all these ballots that are telling me I'm too aggressive, too angry, I would be a better debater if I reeled it in. It's telling me that I have to balance who I am with who I have to be to win, which is a super, super hard, conflicting message for young women in this program.
All speech and debate competitors come here on their Saturday mornings, and I think it's really important that everybody has a completely fair and just shot at placing and getting the scores that they truly deserve.
So I've had some really good judges, and the ones who have been really good are always the ones who I understand that speaking style is a component of debate, but the best RFDs or ballots or comments I've ever gotten from judges have been solely focused on the debate and have literally just been here's the argument, here's what you needed to do, here's what you did do, here's why it was good or bad or whatever, and it didn't really focus on the way I talked or the way I presented everything. It literally just focused on the substance.
We have to remember that debate is supposed to be an educational activity. And when we come to debate as judges, our role is really to provide an educational experience to the debaters. So if we bring personal biases, whether those biases are conscious or unconscious, to our role as judges, we end up depriving some of the students of a valuable educational experience.
So it's not that having implicit bias makes you a really evil person or anything, but you have to sit down and you have to examine it and you have to look at your decisions critically and what you're doing in round and say why am I making the decisions that I'm making?
My involvement in speech and debate has been absolutely invaluable, and I will be forever grateful for the tools that I've gained through this program to advocate for the issues that I care about. But I want to be able to leave this program knowing that in the future it can be something that is open to everyone, so that every student can come in and gain the same tools that I gained. And I can't do that unless I know that my judges are thinking about the implicit bias that they bring to every round.